But spiritual preparation is not a fair weather endeavor. As a matter of fact, spiritual preparation is a preparation unto some end. Should the Lord be gracious and we never enter into suffering in this country, it's a spiritual preparation at the very least for what our next point will be, rewards. But as a means unto an end, we recognize that the spiritual life is not a life of promised prosperity. Much to the contrary, the light of life that shined into the darkness of death that dominates the systems of this world, is a threat to that darkness. The darkness seeks to stifle the light of life at all costs. And this leads to a natural conflict. As a Christian endeavors to love one another and so bear the light of life, living life and life more abundantly, and as we do this thing, living out the life of the love of Christ that Christ has shined into our hearts, the world comes to a problem point. See, the world loves, for a time at least, the general fruit of Christianity. Out of Christianity flows kindness, generosity, selflessness. And these are things that the world loves. But you know what the world does not love? The light that leads to that fruit. It cannot abide the testimony of Christianity, which calls people out of the darkness of their own hearts, in which the fleeting and empty pleasures of the world pale in comparison to the joys of the crucified life, and then leading them into the light of life, where they discover the blessed liberty of living for the world that is to come and not the world that is. And why does the world hate this so much? Because when the light shines into darkness, it exposes their darkness. It's not... If Christians are living properly, Christians are not condemning the world, but the light that is in them is condemning the world. It is not your place, nor is it mine, to judge the world, to condemn the world. But as we live the light, the world will feel judged. The world will feel condemned. And the reason why is because it's exposing their darkness. They love their sin. They want to be kind, they want to be generous, they want to be selfless, but they don't want to give up their sin. And when you live the light, it exposes their sin, and they can't help but see it, and they don't want to see it, so they have to shut down the light. They have to. Or they have to come to the light. And this creates a natural conflict, because the light is in you. And it's not just in you, it is you, if you're doing it right. Not that you are the light, Christ is the light, but it is the very fiber of who you are. Which means in order to shut down the light, they have to shut down the Christian. So we continue in this same chapter, John 15. These things I command you, that you love one another. Verse 18, the next verse. If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you. Remember the word that I said unto you? The servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my sayings, they will keep yours also. But all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. If you were of the world, Christian, the world would love you. Because the world loves its own. The world doesn't care if you're religious or non-religious, as long as you're of the world. The world doesn't care what you look like as long as you're one of them. The world doesn't care what your preferences are as long as you're one of them. But as soon as you're no longer one of them, as soon as you start living for something else, someone else, as soon as you start living for the heavenly home, as soon as you start manifesting the light, not just some shade of darkness, you are no longer of the world. And Jesus Christ is the prototype of what the world does to those who are not of the world.